Welcome to the ThriveOn podcast, the Wings Up edition. I'm your host, John Roth, and I'll be having conversations with students, faculty, staff, other interesting people around and at Florida Gulf Coast University. We will discuss questions of purpose, life, relationships, community, and faith, with fascinating people from different perspectives and lived experiences. I'm glad you are with us today. Let's get ready for another engaging discussion. Welcome to the ThriveOn podcast, the Wings Up edition. It's good to have you here, and I've got two hosts along with me, a hostess and a host. We've got two students here at FGCU, part of our campus ministry as well, Allie and Brandon. Say hi to all those who are listening.
Hello.
Hello. Oh, good. You know how to do that. Great. Share. Right now, Allie and Brandon, thanks for helping with this. We're going to do a few of these together and kind of have discussions over different questions that come up. Now, Allie, what are you studying here at FGCU? Tell us a little about your background and where do you see yourself going in the future?
As of right now, I am studying resort and hospitality management. I will be graduating in December, and I hope one day to be working at a very top-notch resort or hotel, maybe like the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton. I don't know.
Great. And are you from this area, Allie, or where's your family?
No, I'm actually from the East Coast of Florida.
All right.
In a town called Lake Worth.
East
so that is my phone.
East is least, west is best. Just kidding. No, it's great to have you. And Brandon, how about you?
Well, I am studying political science, and I too plan on graduating in December. There's not a whole lot that I can do with my major, so I've recently been cooking a lot, and I hope to go to culinary school and become a chef.
Wow, that's great. Well, you can experiment on us, okay?
What's your favorite dish to make?
I made a ribeye the other night.
A ribeye.
With some sauteed onions and potatoes, topped it with a couple sunny side up eggs. It was delicious.
Cool.
It was delicious.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So, political science major who's going to become a chef.
Yep.
Wow.
There you go.
And my mother.
You two could work at the same place. He could be your chef. You could be his boss. I can see that reaction. Hey, well, thanks for joining us. We have been on the campus at FGCU, and I interviewed a number of students. You helped with the one, too, Brandon, and we're going to ask different questions each week, a different question a week, and then discuss the answers we've heard or the responses we get from different students. I'll have to tell you, I just find the students being very polite, nice, respectful, didn't get yelled at all. And some declined, of course, right? But it's been really good.
That's going to happen.
It's going to happen, of course, and we respect that. We're not trying to invade people's space too much. So the question this week was, with all the stress and anxiety that we have in this world right now, can you name some things that are stressful and causing stress and anxiety?
School, COVID, work.
What else, Brandon? Anything else?
The fact that I'm about to graduate.
And without a straightforward path. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the political situation, the world tension, all sorts of things that have gone on. So we asked that question. And the question is, with all that, where do you then find your peace? Where do you find your tranquility? Where do you find the thing that holds onto it? And we're going to watch a video clip of kind of the summation of a number of these students now. And then afterwards, the three of us are going to talk about it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's watch or hear the answers. And the question is, lots of stress and anxiety in our society right now, right? Where do you find your peace?
That is a great question. I think I find it within myself.
Okay. And how do you find that? Like when you get stressed or anxious, what do you do?
I take time for myself, take a walk, just block out everything, no school, no work, no nothing, just do whatever I need, whether it's eat, sleep, just listen to my body.
So a lot of self-care, and that gets you through most of the time. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much. Have fun in class. Okay, we'll see you around. Hi there. I'm doing a podcast here on campus. Could you answer a question for me?
I don't see why not.
Okay. So there's lots of stress and anxiety in our society these days, just all sorts of stuff going on. Where do you find your peace in the midst of all of this?
Usually, like at night, I like to just take a skate, listen to some music, just chill out, just clear my.
Music and skateboarding. Anything else?
I like to surf. Sometimes I like to just chill on the beach, drive down to the Fort Myers beach, just chill out there.
And that works pretty well for you. Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right. And that is, there's a lot of stress and anxiety right now in our whole society. Where do you find your peace?
In the Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay, great. So I think that's a pretty good place to find it out. Yeah. So in what practices or what things do you do in order to find that peace there?
Well, I mean, okay, so I pray, I read out of the scripture, and I do other things like hang out with my friends and, like just relax, listen to music.
Great, great. So what year are you here at FGCU?
I'm a freshman.
Okay.
Here, so.
Are you part of a campus ministry already, or have you been looking into those?
No, I was looking to join like these people I met. They were doing like a small group occasionally, so I was looking.
We have one too. I'm a campus pastor actually here, and I'm also an adjunct professor. So yeah, our group is called Thrive. We meet on Wednesdays. Tomorrow night we have a barbecue.
Just by going out in nature.
Okay. So going out in nature, whenever you get stressed out or anxious, you just kind of like take a walk, or what else do you do?
I just go out, do something.
Yeah. And how's that been working?
It's working good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Bye. Hello, I'm doing a podcast on campus. Would you? Okay.
Christianity.
Can you explain that a little more?
Sure. Just believing that God goes before me and I'm not on my own helps me.
How? What practices do you do in the faith to get there? Pray.
You pray.
Yeah.
You pray. You think about God. You think about theology, philosophy.
Yeah.
It
Are
helps.
you connected to any Christian ministries here?
Yeah. Grow Church in Naples.
Fantastic.
It's a really
Great.
good church. I like it.
Yeah. Where do you find your peace?
Therapy.
Therapy. So you've kind of been able to kind of process through things with a therapist, and that really works well. Great. How about you?
For me, it's reading. I just like to get in my own space and just be somewhere else for a minute. Takes my mind off stuff.
So kind of giving that moment to escape kind of and get into a book, and you find it there. Great. Well, thank you so much.
I would say I find my peace in my own personality and in my own self, kind of determining what I can do to keep that anxiety and things in the world outside of my own.
So what things do you do to do that?
I would say I kind of like to reflect on certain things and certain situations and how I might have done them differently or how I can change them to probably better my life on a day-to-day basis.
Great. Thank you so much. Lots of anxiety and stress in our world right now. Where do you find your peace in the midst of all of this?
Just trust that things will go well.
And do they usually?
Depends on your perspective.
Okay. And what else do you do in order to, I'm sure you've been through some stressful times, right? So what else works for you?
Just trying to think of it, not like put yourself in the moment, but like get an outside perspective and try to rationalize it.
I guess just like being outside with nature, I would say. Being at the beach, being able to go to the beach in sunny Southwest Florida.
Yeah. So have you gotten stressed out in the last couple of years with everything going on?
For sure. I think everybody has.
It's been a rough time. worse than I've ever seen it, I think, in my life. And I've been around a little longer than you.
What podcast? Okay, ThriveOn
ThriveOn podcast. It's going to be the Wings Up edition. We're a campus ministry here at FGCU as well.
Cool.
Have you noticed it's been a little stressful?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Where do you find your peace in the midst of all of this?
Oh boy. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that.
Huh. Okay. Have you been stressed the last last year, the year before? I mean, this whole COVID thing, all the racial tension, all the other things going on?
Yeah, no, it's definitely caused stress.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, all of that.
Yeah. So, so you're not quite sure how to find it yet.
No, I mean, I just take it day by day.
Okay.
Take a breather when I need to.
Yeah.
Just reevaluating how everything went and what you can do. And
So has it ever gotten too overwhelming for you, everything going on?
it does, but I mean, in those moments, just talk to someone and figure out how to make it better.
All right. Thank you. Yeah. And how about you? So, yes, all the stress and anxiety we have in our society, right?
Yeah.
Where do you find your peace?
I find my peace in basically just being to myself. Go find something I love to do, which is exercising, playing basketball, things like that. Just find a happy place. Just things like that, yeah.
Cool.
Honestly, with my puppy. I spend a lot of time with her, and she just is the least stressful thing that I deal with. So.
Is she here with you in the area?
She lives with me in Naples. We live in Naples.
Okay, so you're not too far off campus. Okay, good. So how old is she?
She's 1.5 years.
Okay, so she's not a puppy anymore.
Well, until 2.
Yeah, I guess. What kind?
She's a Shih Tzu.
Ah, that's cute. And her name?
Lilo, like Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch. Was that one of your favorite movies? All right. Hi there. I'm doing a podcast here on campus and just asking students a question. Yeah. Would you be willing to answer it? Sure. Okay. So come on. So we'll edit it so it's kind of like all these gaps in it. So lots of stress and anxiety in our society. Have you noticed? Yeah. Like people are freaking out. Where do you find your peace?
Just by myself, honestly. Just go home, take a nap.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah. So the last year or so hasn't overwhelmed you too much yet?
Not a lot. I had a lot of friends that we would hang out a lot.
Yeah.
Even though you weren't supposed to, but
Yeah. Where do you find your peace in the midst of all of this stuff?
Oh, I play basketball, so playing sports and practicing and stuff like that, it does well for me.
Great. Anything else?
Keeping up with.
Where are you finding your peace in the midst of all of that?
Mostly through exercise, like that always helps, like going to the gym and just, making a schedule for all my classes and everything.
Cool. So how's it going so far?
It's going pretty good. I mean, it's the beginning, so we're not like totally into our studies yet.
Right. Is this your first year or?
Second year, actually.
Cool. All right. So, Brandon and Allie, what's your reactions to what you heard? What were the ways people are kind of coping?
Well, the answers I heard a lot of the most were just kind of like personal things, like exercise. Mm-hmm. As one guy said, just chilling. I also liked video games, I think, right? What else?
Then there was nature, people talking about their faith and looking up to God.
Yeah, so those were kind of, I think, the exception. Mm-hmm. Don't you think? There were only a couple of people. Most people picked something. And I was thinking about all of this, and I know I'm getting very philosophical on y'all.
That's okay.
But, what do you expect? There's a man named Charles Taylor. He wrote this book called A Secular Age. And I think I actually have it in the library. It's not right behind me, but over there. And it's like this thick. I haven't read it all. I read a book about that book. Does that?
That makes sense.
It's kind of like the Cliff Notes, right?
Yeah,
because he's like this Canadian. He's and he said what's happened is he uses or somebody's used the metaphor of you live in a 2-story house. What kind of house do you all do you live in? Homes like your family grew up in a home?
2-story.
2-story.
1 story.
1 story. Okay, but you have an attic probably, right?
Yeah, but there's monsters up there.
There's monsters up there. And there were monsters under my bed as a kid.
What about in the closet?
In the closet? Did you watch Monsters, Inc., that movie?
Yes, I love that movie.
Love that movie, yeah. So anyways, he says it's kind of like we live in a 2-story house, but we never use the second story. The first story is our horizontal relationships, We find things to do and we don't even think about the second story. We go up there once in a while, we go up there especially quote, Christmas time to pull out all the decorations, decorate for Christmas. Then we put them back, and the rest of our lives are lived on the one story. And when I was looking at these responses that I heard from these students, most of them seem to be the one story: friends, nature, in myself, exercise, video games,
chillin',
and lots of chillin'. They don't use the resource, the vertical relationship with God. Only a couple students mentioned that. And I think they're missing out on so much.
I agree. Well, because all the stuff like your dogs and going to the beach and exercising, that doesn't get you eternal paradise.
No, and it doesn't get you...
and that's pretty much more like a short-term fix.
Yes.
It's not long-term.
Yeah.
You may feel stressed out and you're like, oh, I just want to take a quick trip to the beach.
I feel like it more just kind of pushes back the stress.
Right. So it's an avoidance technique. It's not a tackle it and figure out why I'm stressed and where can I find hope in the midst of it. It's I'm going to avoid this for a while and tune out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I'm not dissing any of those things, except maybe video games. No, I don't mind video games. I just think they stress me out more. I get kind of wired, Watching a screen too much can
and then when you're stuck on a certain level for a long time and you can't get past it, I feel like that would bother you. That would bother me.
Now, you're a gamer, right?
Oh, big time.
Do you get more stressed from playing video games, or does that ease your stress?
It depends. It depends on how hard what I'm playing is. If it's a hard game, then it just makes me even more stressed out.
Oh, okay.
I get very... It sounds so silly saying because it's just a video game, but there will be times where my heart's pounding and I'm sweating, even though I keep my room really cold, and my hands are shaking because I just want to...
Yeah, that does not sound like it's a stress reliever in those moments.
Yeah, I find myself more relaxed when I'm cooking something.
So you're cooking for therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love cooking, and so cooking for therapy. But a lot of the things that they mentioned are, like you said, short term. They just kind of push it down the road. They don't solve the issue.
It's like kicking a can down the road.
Yeah. And but we live now in a society where we don't really look beyond what we can touch, taste, see, smell, experience in normal life. We don't think beyond this to find an answer deeper. That, I'll tell you, is different than when I was growing up. Okay? We have shifted, and I share this in my leadership class. It used to be the majority of people who went to college, not everyone, but the majority, came to college, and less people went to college percentage-wise, but they came to college to seek a meaningful philosophy of life. Students today don't do that.
No, not
What
at
do you
all.
go to college for now?
Just to pursue more, just to get a higher education.
And then for what purpose?
Just to get a job afterwards.
Be successful.
Successful. Which success means? Usually.
Success means a lot of different things. It's part of being happy, financially stable.
Yeah. Money, often.
Yeah.
Everything comes down to economics now in college. And you're right?
Everyone wants the highest paying job.
Right.
But even if it's something that they absolutely hate.
Correct. You are correct. In fact, that's the majority of people, students who go to college now are going there to get the grades, to get the job, and to basically be well off financially. Which is a very horizontal, again, thing. It doesn't deal with meaning and purpose issues. We've kind of given up on trying to figure that out. You know?
I mean, it makes sense. So you're spending 4 years, you're spending all this money on tuition and housing and textbooks.
I know.
You want to be able to make the big money if you spent 4 years, you know.
Right.
But it's all
so many people graduate college in debt.
Oh, absolutely. It can be very economically a nightmare, and especially if you don't graduate and you quit, and then you have all this debt and no degree. Oof. But getting back to kind of this idea of peace, you were right. They miss kind of the vertical, the relationship with God or anything greater. Very few. Did anybody say anything about prayer?
I don't believe so.
No. A couple said something about their faith and reading scripture, maybe. But I don't see that. I don't see a solid kind of like answer.
Yeah, the answers were all over the place, and not a lot had to do with faith. And no one mentioned prayer.
No. And did you notice too? Some people really struggle to figure out how they do it.
Yeah.
So, where do you find? I mean, this personally, where do you guys find your peace in the midst of all this?
Well, I know you're not going to like my answer.
No, it's fine. No, go ahead.
But I do enjoy gaming.
Yeah.
But I do most nights before I go to sleep, and it does help me. It does ease my mind a little bit. I do say a quick prayer.
Yeah.
Before I go to sleep, I thank God for giving me the gift of life.
Right.
And yeah.
And you are part of Thrive FGCU, right? So you've come here.
Yep.
Does this add stress or help with it?
No, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Like, Thrive is a very welcoming community, and that's coming from someone that all throughout, like, middle and high school was very socially, like, away from people.
You didn't feel like you fit in when you were in...
Yeah, I didn't wear the nice clothes. I didn't have the newest iPhone all the time. I didn't have all the material possessions that made you cool.
Yeah.
So I always stayed a little distant, but my roommate, Brett, I'm sure everybody at Thrive knows Brett. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He said, hey, there's this really great church that I'm part of called Thrive, and you should come check it out.
Yeah.
And I did, and it ended up being one of the greatest things I ever did, because I have all these friends now, and I'm able to get more in tune with my faith. Because when I first got here, I was in a bit of a tough spot with my faith. I had some personal hardships, and I was like in the mindset of like, why, God, why would you do this to me?
But then you found support. You found you came to peace and to terms with some of that. It sounds like too, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a both and, I would say. I'm not looking at like, oh, you shouldn't do any of these things that you mentioned, but just do this. It's really, I think Christianity is kind of cross-shaped like this. It's horizontal and vertical together. Allie, how about you? Do you do do video games?
No. The way I kind of deal with stress is kind of just like being surrounded by loved ones, and then sometimes I'll FaceTime my mom, and she'll show me my dog back home that I miss very dearly. So anytime I see him, I just get super happy. So
that's cool.
And I just look forward to the next time going home.
Yeah, I think you will notice, like in the book of Psalms, there's a lot of stress in the book of Psalms. There's a lot of anxiety in the book of Psalms. There's a lot of questions of why God in the book of Psalms. In fact, of the 150 Psalms, the the largest grouping they call laments. And a lament is where you're kind of complaining to God. But by the end of the psalm, often the complaint turns into then a statement of trust. And it seems to be the fact that you can pour out or cast your anxieties on God, as the New Testament even says, that just that process of prayer or reading the scriptures and praying those things out or sharing your burden with God lifts the burden itself, even though he doesn't like speak back directly. And it seems like that practice, for the vast majority of students that we heard, who probably all would say they believe in God, or the majority do, seems to be missing, and they're like missing out on, I think, one of the greatest benefits, the greatest ways to alleviate stress. Now, does that make sense? So, come into Thrive. We're trying to do some of that, and to just kind of model how to do that. And maybe y'all will get jobs in this area, who knows, or the East Coast, or are you looking at elsewhere outside of Florida, or?
I honestly haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to stress you out about all this now. What?
Well, I know I'm not going back to the East Coast. At least I live there. Not my place.
Not your place, huh?
No, I'm more of a Southwest Florida guy.
Cool.
Yeah, the East Coast and the West Coast of Florida are very, very different.
No, really. The West Coast is much more laid back, I guess, but not all in a good way. It's kind of can be boring, probably for young adults, right?
Well, it's just I guess the culture shock of like going back home. Yeah. Well, because one of the things with COVID is like over here, it's much more relaxed.
Chilled.
Like when I would go back home, everyone over there was so much more strict about it. Like you go somewhere without a mask, they're gonna yell at you over there.
Well, I think they just yell at you anyways. Like driving around Fort Lauderdale was like, oh my gosh. I never got so many 4-letter blessings in my life, and honks and, gestures.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in Broward, so I know.
And that could be really stressful itself. I think the whole climate can just add to the stress, right? So what do you think? What have we missed in this discussion so far?
I don't think we're putting as much of an emphasis on how important it is to like find God, because all the stresses on earth and like our lives pale in comparison to what God can offer us.
Right.
He can alleviate all of our problems.
Yeah.
If we just turn to him.
Right. Anything else, Allie?
No, I pretty much just am thankful for everything that God has, given us. So.
Cool. And I think too, I just think in the Bible, there were different figures. Paul and Silas in the book of Acts, they were treated very badly in this town called Philippi, and thrown into jail. And in the middle of the jail, after being beaten up, physically tortured, put in stocks, thrown into prison, wondering what their future is going to be, right? It says that they started to sing and praise God, and everybody in the jail could hear them. And it's like, what finding peace and joy in the midst of really bad circumstances. And the art of doing that seems to be missing in most people's lives. They either have to have circumstances go well, or they have to get out of them, and remove themselves, go to the beach, do something to avoid it, kick the can down the road, like you said. And I think the Bible would say there's also, you can do that temporarily, but we need an eternal, lasting solution of knowing someone who has taken all the stress and anxiety of this world on his own shoulders, died on the cross for it, rose again to give you a future. So the other aspect of it, I think, for y'all is like, You don't know what you're doing in 6 months from now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? We know your future.
Heaven.
Yeah. Your future is Jesus. Your future is in him. It is secure. So whether you're unemployed or have a great job that you've always wanted, the ultimate issues have been taken care of for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that how does that make you feel, knowing your ultimate future is solid, secure, with God, filled with joy, love, and couldn't get any better?
It's very
reassuring.
Yeah, especially in times like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
This world sometimes feels like it's going to hell in a handbag, as they say, doesn't it?
I mean,
Yes, sir.
you may have those stressful times in your life, or you might be struggling emotionally, whether it's with depression or anxiety. But just knowing that things will work out for the best is just
right.
Keeps me going.
And that reminds me of something, Allie. I don't want anybody to think that if you're Christians face depression and anxiety. Christians struggle with these things. We all do. I have. But I think we also then try to find resources and help. And the Psalms. If you read the Psalms, there are some very dark Psalms that I would say people would diagnose the individual who's saying it at the time as being depressed. You know, darkness is my best friend, one of the Psalms says. That sounds really, wow, you know. But they still trust and hold on to God even in the midst of it, and that brings them through that. I think it's going to be one of the greatest, most important skills for anyone in life is to learn how to manage or handle or give to God all this stress and stuff and put it in the right perspective and live trusting in him in the midst of some tough times. Mm-hmm. And make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this is the first of 3 episodes the 3 of us will do. We might do some more, depending on afterwards. You might say, I don't want to do this anymore. That was nice.
I'm enjoying this.
Good. I think this is going to be fun. I like your perspectives, and I appreciate you being willing to do this, okay? Mm-hmm. So, in fact, Brandon, I think one of the episodes is you are the one asking the questions, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. And that's about purpose in life, which kind of ties in with this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too.
All right, why don't you say, let's share our goodbyes with those who've been watching and or tuning in to this podcast, and looking forward to the next one. Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead.
You first.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Hope you have a good day, and God bless you.
Yeah, blessings to you all. We'll see you next time.